Hello everybody and welcome back to the Prince of Persia 2008 walkthrough. It's time for us to head to the palace rooms and expel the concubine from the royal palace once and for all. Or, as I said in the last part, and as the prince jokingly said when we first ran into the concubine, it's time for us to perform Death of a Concubine. Which I do find just rather funny. It kind of makes sense considering how generally theatrical the concubine is. Because, like, from the way she speaks to the way she holds herself, it's very exaggeratedly theatrical and show-like.
I hope Ormaz knows what he's doing.
So do I, because, you know, I'd rather not fly face first into rocks. Generally uncomfortable. And generally it ends rather badly. Like, all the smushed face. It's not good. Not good at all.
Welcome to the ball, honored guests. Shall we begin the dance?
So, there are multiple forms of the concubine here. Just gotta
Rescue me from the naughty god.
attack her as best you
I'd
can.
like to get my hands on you.
Will, my darling, I will forget my gold, forsake my destiny, live as a pauper, not a prince. Oh, thank you, my little man.
There isn't really a whole lot you can do other than just keep
Together, my darling.
attacking her. And eventually you will get rid of all the illusions in the room. But yeah, she talks a lot.
Elika!
Forget about her. It's time to think about me.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Pretty sure that, you know, Prince is kind of slightly enamoured with Elika. So you and your ugly mug aren't going to stand a chance, really. But also, I as I've said before, I think I do like this boss fight because it has a real nice sense of progression.
She might have your heart, but
Because it has actually
so
partly more stages than any of the others.
Yeah, I think I'll try and hang on to that. It seems to be coming in
Because
handy.
you kind of have the three floors, and you kind of have to keep going up, and it keeps bringing the tension.
How much more time do you think we have left? We must keep going.
Stay close.
I'm not going anywhere.
I have to say, something that kind of I haven't thought about at all
Big spaces.
is that, so this is all kind of taking place in one day/night. And during this time frame, the Prince and Elika never eat. Never stop, even. I mean, obviously, we've stopped because we've had to save the game and so on and so forth, but the Prince and Elika have just been going, and going, and going. They're like bloomin' machines. I mean, I guess when you've got, the god of all evil deciding needs to escape today, you kind of get filled with that much adrenaline, but it's still just like bloomin' heck.
your time is almost run. Armin's escape draws near.
Try to do that to me.
No, yeah, you're just gonna want to stick around Elika for a little bit, just to make sure that she gets up. And then you can fight on, like you normally would do. Now, I'm not a fan of these pillars. They really get in the way of seeing what you're doing. I mean, thankfully, for the most part, as long as you have your guard up, you should be absolutely fine, but they get in the way apart from that. Now, I figured out the exact timing on reflecting the Concubine's attacks. It's basically kind of as soon as she starts to swing, almost, I think. If you try and do your right trigger about then, that should work for you.
Oh, do you need a rest?
Well, I mean, I would say they do, because, you know, as I said, they've been running for hours on end right by this point.
I wish I could have seen me do that.
But that is the second phase of the Concubine done and dusted. It's time for us to head to the final floor.
The next floor is the last one.
Then we'll have her cornered.
Or I you. You have a choice. Walk into the web or walk away. Armin will clear a path for you. You can leave.
Yeah, and he's the trustworthy type, Armin. He'll just let us go so we can warn everyone he's about to get out. Silence speaks volumes.
So, let us head up to the top of the palace rooms, and this is the bit that I think is really clever. So, in a variety of video games, there are a number of riddles that happen that confuse the heck out of people, but actually are quite witty and clever. For instance, I believe one of the X-Men games, you reach a point where it says restart the system, and what it means is you've actually got to physically reboot your console. Soft reboot, obviously, not hard reboot, to be able to continue, and that's brilliant if you can figure it out. It's a bit mean. However, this is much more clever than that, because it plays on previous established gameplay mechanics.
So choose her.
So, there are lots of Elikas here. Which Elika is the real Elika?
You want me so much? Stop trying to kill me!
It's not that one. It's not that one. Yeah, I don't see the real Elika anywhere here, so let's just kill ourselves, because we can't do anything without her. And there she is.
You lunatic.
I knew you'd save me.
What if I'd fallen unconscious again?
Ha! Oh, I didn't think of that.
Well, little man, you took the test. You failed.
So, you see what I mean? It's really clever, because I mean, you can run around that entire circle and you will find that none of the Elikas are the real Elika, they'll all just disappear and reappear. So, you need to remember that Elika always saves you. No matter if she's trapped or whatever, she will save you, and so jumping off is the only way to find the real Elika. And that is the only moment in the game where you physically have to have Elika save you. I think it's a really clever thing. But it also maybe slightly mean that you're forced to throw yourself off a building. But then, I mean, you've probably fallen off enough as it is, so one more's not going to hurt. You just need to make sure that you're careful for if you want to get the achievement for not being saved up 100 times. And so, that was Death of a Concubine.
You're right. Let's get out of here. After all this, I'll get you those carpets you wanted.
What carpets?
You know, redecorate the palace like you've been saying.
I'm not the concubine. She's gone. You're stuck with me. That wasn't an illusion either.
Let's get out of here.
So, it is time for us to run like hell.
How do we get out?
Over there. That will allow us to leave.
And we're going to get a really awesome kind of look at the palace rooms as they crumble to the ground. Sort of, I think. A little bit. Maybe. Or not. That was very anticlimactic of an escape sequence. I was expecting a little bit more.
What she said.
Was designed to drive a wedge between us. You said it yourself.
Some of it was true, though. I do serve my people, and
Hey, I'm looking for a way out of here without
And
a
here is the
dark
book I was
across the
talking about
desert,
with the
all right?
prince's
Don't worry
cape
about me, princess.
jacket
No,
thing.
of
Oh
course
dear.
we'll finish this, and then you can find your donkey.
And you can get back to ruling your people. Everything back as it was. Just as you wanted.
Well, we haven't finished this yet.
So, yep.
When I go,
And I think it's fixed itself now,
I need to find your
thankfully.
people, the ones who left.
But I just find that so funny.
Here first.
It's once again another of those things of,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just a tiny little glitch that
Can we take a break?
doesn't affect anything, thankfully. Although, saying that, I did read somewhere that there are a few kind of achievement/trophy glitches in this game. So, like, you achieve the thing that would normally get you the achievement, and it just doesn't turn up. One such thing is, I believe it's called Sinking to New Depths. It's an achievement for basically reaching the lowest point on the map. Which I'm not going to show off here, but I will tell you, basically, when you are at the temple, if you kind of look out towards the desert, head to your right, and kind of just follow the wall, and eventually you will find a little hole, nook thing that you can drop down into, and if you run right to the end of that, that is where you get that achievement. And I think that is one of the ones that is ever so slightly glitched out. And we are going to get those light seeds finally, and I'm going to realise my idiocy. Because they're really blooming obvious how to get. But, just, I overthanked it? I don't even know how I'm meant to say that. I was overthinking it at the time. There we go. That's better. You see, this is what I do. I overthink everything. Even when I'm just trying to do a simple commentary for the internet. It's just the way I roll, really.
No!
And that was also really clumsy.
Glad I'm here.
And here we go, let's grab them. You would think that they aren't quite that easy to get because they are on the underside of the platform, but no, it is that easy. It really, really is. But now we get to head into the City of Light, which suffers from similar problems to the Royal Palace, in that it has at least 2 rather long areas which involve a lot of backtracking, and from what I remember they aren't as bad as the 2 towers in the Royal Palace, but they are pretty painful if you aren't careful. Also, we're gonna get into a little fight here, because I was a bit too slow. Also, I'm still not sure what happens there. It's really bizarre. Like, you get kind of knocked because you didn't do it fast enough, and that's fine, but then something trips you up, and I still have no idea what the heck it is. Now, normally I would just kind of throw him off the edge, but for some bizarre reason in that sequence of events, that just didn't happen. And then I think I just decided, oh, I've come this far, I might as well just defeat him normally, because that's... it's only right. Somehow, magically. I have no idea anymore. We've only got 1 area left of the game, so my brain's going into the end of walkthrough blues of I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Well, all things considered, this guy's putting up a reasonable fight. That and I'm just being sloppy, but still. So, 3 of the 4 corrupted are dead. It's time for us to head to the City of Light and begin our quest to take down the warrior. So, it's time for more running.